morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. It is a very oh wow, people are here already. Evil's Comics. How you doing? David's Comics and Wrestling. David, let me tell you something. I'm forever just going to refer to him as Main Event. Uh, he did a glorious video of Chad and Argyle in the wrestling ring just earlier this week, just a couple of nights ago, actually, and it was really funny. David, thank you for throwing me in there. And I think Chad is gonna do a rematch. I don't know. Maybe I can cut like a WWE style video there for you. I forgot what they're called when they come out. Mr. Brian LCS is here. Brian, excuse me, congratulations on 1,000 subscribers once again. In case you're unaware and you're watching this, like, you don't look like Brian. It's like, well, maybe if you squint, but yeah, Brian and I did a little switcheroo for the day. So I'm on now, he's on at 11, and I promise not to go over. I'm going to try to fill out the whole hour for you here. Who else is here with us? I see Zach. How are you, sir? Some number indeed. His third name for his channel. I'm only aware of two, including the new one. Yeah, it was very fun. Fanboy, how are you, sir? Mr. Durs, how are you? How are you? I have to catch up on your videos, sir. It's been a very long week. I have to tell everybody, by the way, this is you might notice my voice is a little down today. I'm not going to go into details, but we had a very, very, very long night. Very long night here in the Philtastic household. I actually am on zero sleep, exactly zero. I pulled an all-nighter, and to be honest with you, it's the first time I've done that, probably since this T-shirt was relevant. And yes, this is an authentic Yankees Championship 2009 T-shirt. So today will be interesting. I've had, I think, more coffee. Strong arms and switching times, of course, yes. I've had more coffee in the last 24 hours than I think I have in the past 2 years cumulatively. So, hey, that might make for something fun. I might just go off the walls here. I might pass out. Either way, yep, Evil, you nailed it, sir. Fun times indeed. On the bright side, I did get to catch up with Last of Us. So they had that going for me. All is good, but I appreciate the concern. Somebody's saying hello to Seth, Mr. Seth 11. How are you, sir? Yeah, no, all is good. I appreciate that, David. Yeah, so it's been very adventurous. I almost was like, maybe I should just do like a little canceloo over here for today, but it's like, nope, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do it. Again, I might just pass out midstream. If I do, it's probably going to keep recording. Somebody just screen cap it for me. At least let me get a short out of it. Let's see. Appreciate you still going live. Trying. Trying. Let's see. The only downside is that I wanted to do Neil's comics, or I think Neil's collecting. Hey, Manny, how are you? His ladies covers challenge, and I wanted to do that with my wife. Of course, I wanted to do that with my wife, but she is very, very tired indeed. So I doubt that we'll be doing that live today. But on the bright side, if you guys have any suggestions for that challenge, I figured the way I was going to do it, I was going to let you guys pick the character. I was going to go through my CLZ app and see if I have, of course, if I don't know offhand, any covers by said character, said female character, and we would just see, if my wife appreciates it. So a little twist on Neil's challenge. So, yeah, maybe I'll just do that as a recorded video. I should say, and I don't know if I've said this lately, you might notice I have not done any 7-minute stories uh, in quite some time at this point. I think is it a full? No, it's 2 months, and that is because again I've been organizing downstairs. If you haven't watched that video series, I urge you to check that out. My wife is helping me with our organization project, which that on the bright side that has to wrap up. On the not so bright side, it has to wrap up today. So I will be spending the better part of the day finishing that up, and it's giving me a different kind of appreciation for some of the comics in my collection. Hey, Kenneth, how you doing today? Oh, David, you know what? Strangely enough, or funny enough, I should say, I only have I think like four Vampirella comics, and two of them were giveaways. So go figure. But she is aware of Vampirella. This is my first appearance on a live. Yes, yes, it was, and you did a great job. She is aware of Vampirella because one of the shows I do watch weekly, usually on my lunch break on Wednesdays, I'll watch Bueller's just kind of video. I don't know what it's called, the video of all the comics that are coming out for the following week. I'll watch that with my little guy. I think just because of the bright colors, he likes that. And of course, Dynamite, or is it Dynamite or Boom, has the cosplay covers. So the Vampirella covers are always the why don't we just say a subject of discussion if my wife happens to be walking past the TV when that pops on. I didn't start with Vampirella until 2021 and never looked back since. Um, you know what? I think I tried to read Vampirella once and I was like, I couldn't get into it. But more power to you. I'm going Power Girl, Catwoman, Wonder Woman, and Supergirl for Neil's challenge. Um, yeah, those are all solid choices. I'm part of the cool thing about this organization thing is I'm remembering some of the books that I used to subscribe to or get in my pull box that I just don't get anymore. And I had a significant amount of Supergirl comics, more than I thought, all from around when was it Aaron? No, I'm thinking of Captain Marvel. Aaron Lopresti was on it, but all around that kind of time period. I think when that's all pre-New 52. And then when we got to the New 52, I just didn't like the direction the story was taking. But hey, Catwoman, of course, I have a big amount of. Wonder Woman, a little bit, not so much. But yeah, I mean, mine lies mostly in the Marvel books. Those are these for me to find that fit that criteria. Yeah, that's how it goes. I still laugh at Jeff Johns trying to explain. Yeah, same. Yeah, and you know what's weird? Some of them it's like I didn't realize I had this one, but I guess when your collection gets to a certain size, it's part of the course. Brian, just out of curiosity, do you also subscribe to the cover price part of the app so that you get all the prices in CLZ? Well, he's answering that. I have actually a question for everybody who was here last week. Did I go over these Avengers books last week? I forgot if I had discussed it or not, and my organization is a little off because of the project I'm going through. I usually put the books I read for the week to one spot so I could just grab them. This window, okay. Yeah, I have a significant amount of Yara as well. Not so much Punchline. Just didn't like that character. Uh, oh, that was my favorite part of Shorts, Brian. Yeah. I forget who she was and where she came from. Yeah, nobody did. Yeah, I mean, I subscribe to it, but the weirdest part is, and I don't know if it's just me or if it's just because I'm trying to go through Safari 9 times out of 10, I have the hardest time actually getting into cover price, even though I have like the password and everything saved. I don't know why. Yeah, for me, Evil, I needed something. Hey, Silver Knight, how are you? Or hey, Kyle, I should say. Um, yeah, I mean, for me, I needed a good app. I looked for a long time. I have notebooks where I started actually handwriting my collection out back in the day and just stopped at some point and started over again. I was using a different app initially that I can't remember the name of, and I was satisfied with it. Hey Trev, how are you? I was satisfied with it, but at some point I realized that I would sit down for like 2 hours and input stuff in, and then for whatever reason it just wouldn't be there. And then when I transferred over to an iPad, it didn't carry all the information over. So it was like I was starting over, and I complained to them, and they were like, "Well, you could just re-input." I was like, "Forget it." And I've gone to CLZ and haven't looked back. And yeah, Brian, I love the barcode as well on it. I saw Trev. How are you, sir? J80, how are you? How are you? No, he's going to be on at 11. We did a little switcheroo today. Yeah, so I figure I'll do something a little bit different just because I'm really tired. Um, but I am going to try to go for the full hour. So uh, I don't know if I discussed these last week, but I read these at some point, these three Avengers books. I didn't go to the LCS. I should start by saying that. Again this week. I'm very far behind at this point, but again, I've called and they they're like, yeah, you're fine, because I really don't have that much on my pulls anymore. um, that being said, I usually make up for that, and I'm hoping that doesn't mean that I skip something. Matt, I've had, first of all, good morning to you, sir. Second of all, I've had an abysmal amount of coffee already in the past 24 hours. I'm a little afraid to have any more, truth be told. So I'm going to skip the coffee at least for today. But that being said, Matt Woods to you, sir. Yeah, we had a long night in the household. Um, yeah, and then I intended on actually going to the LCS last night, and it turns out the owner of my LCS, who is pretty much the only guy who works there, he does have another person come in, Justin, who is yep, later on. I could see that coming, Kyle. Yeah. He has another guy, Justin, that comes in occasionally to help out. Pretty much his part timer, but it's usually just Sean, who you may have seen on the show before. He thought he had COVID. Turns out it's just a terrible, terrible head cold. And I'm like, I'm not going to bring that home. So I'm going to wait at least another week or two before I go to good old Fat Moose. But that's okay. And he knows too that if money is an issue, he will indeed give me a call, and we'll make a payment over the phone. But anyway, I read these. I think I read these this week. It might have been last week. These Avengers No Surrender books. I got these during that big Midtown sale I had done a video on recently. Um, yeah, Doug Bratton had pointed out online that they're having a great sale, and I picked these up. And these are mostly a cover buy. I always had admired these covers. These are Mark Brooks covers. This one, by the way, cool cover. Has nothing to do with the story whatsoever. Lady Fantastic, how are you? Um, Another cool cover here. I really like this one. Kind of looks like a tarot card, or a tarot. I don't even know if I said it right. I'm too tired to say things correctly. Um, Silver Knight. I don't know if it's actually the first new Hulk. I know he is in it a little bit. And then I picked up this one as well, which was kind of like a hoodwinked cover buy, straight intravenously, maybe. And honestly, I had thought that I was kind of curious when I saw this, because I was like, I thought Luke Cage and Jessica Jones got married in like a New Avengers annual, and they did. This was just a fake out, I guess. With the Hulk on the cover is the one. Oh, I do have that one too. It just wasn't part of this haul. So anyway, this was at a point where I had actually stopped reading Avengers. Yeah, they did. Yeah. Oh, thank you for reminding people on that one, Evil, too. They definitely own it. Yeah, I remember reading it. Yeah, New Avengers Annual 1. I do remember reading it. So this one, I'm guessing it because it says on it, end of an era cover. So I guess this is supposed to be like, I don't know, maybe big events as part of the recent storylines, or the more recent storylines of that time. I don't know. Just an excuse to get more money. We all know that. I hadn't read this particular Avengers run. Um, when I jumped back into comics about 20 years ago, Avengers was one of the titles I did pick up. It was during Judd. I'm probably going to say his name wrong. Winnick or Winnicky, the guy from Real World, San Francisco. During his run, which actually was pretty good. Um, it, it was a superhero story, but he did try to change it around a bit. I remember the first arc I had read. It was something with Red Skull, where basically he did what Ed Brubaker did in Captain America, but not as well, at least in my opinion. I figured it out pretty easy what was going to happen. And then that went right into Bendis's run, and I read Avengers through Bendis, through Hickman, and then I dropped off after Secret Wars. I think I picked up a couple of issues of some runs in between. I have a couple of Jason Aaron's, and it was just like, that's good for me. I'm good with Avengers. Yeah, Brubaker was great in Captain America. Um, so this run I was not that familiar with, but I always admired the covers, and again, they were cheap. I didn't have the full story, so granted, I'm reading only little sections of these, so I'm kind of grading this on individual issues. The story itself is more of a traditional superhero story. This was also, just to give you a time, around the time they had that U.S. Avengers book. I remember reading a couple issues of that one. It didn't go well with me, but there you go. And yeah, they had some good moments in the finale. The story itself was just okay. This was also when they tried to make, if they tried to introduce a character, Voyager, basically using Century's kind of shtick, where everybody forgot that she was a founding member of the Avengers. I thought this was just okay, to be honest with you. Again, these were kind of cover buys, but I've come to the conclusion during my organization project that I should shy away from cover buys, and I have too many to do that with. Evil. Don't know if I ever read any Brubaker. I like Brubaker. I liked his Captain America run. I liked his Daredevil run. It definitely got dark in that one. And I really liked his Catwoman stuff. I can't say that if I've read anything else, to be honest, that he's done. If I have, it just doesn't come to mind at the moment. Yeah, the U.S. Avengers run I didn't care for, but that's just me. Mark Brooks is one of my favorite. Cover buys, yeah, yeah. And like I said, the finale, which is this issue, did have some interesting moments, but just moments that kind of, I don't know, just felt like, okay, we kind of saw this in Bendis's run, and we kind of saw this one in Winnick's run, and I don't know, it felt a little contrived to me. But again, if you like a straight up superhero story, I think this might be a good one for you. I had to do that. Yeah. Excuse me. Excuse me. Matt wins. Yeah, the Catwoman he did was before the New 52. It had a different style on the cover, more of a cartoony type of style. But yeah, I can't remember anything specifically that I liked about it. I just remember liking it a lot. And the Daredevil run started right after Bendis's run, where he started out in the Gulag. But I thought it was really good. Yeah, agreed, Matt. And the other thing I read from that same Midtown Hall, I did pick up a couple of the Game of Thrones books, and Brubaker, Brooks of Doom, yeah. Books of Doom, Brooks. This is what happens when a 43-year-old pulls out an all-nighter. So I did pick up a good amount of Game of Thrones books, and I'll say this was a little bit of speculative. I know Doug and Reggie had made some recommendations on Game of Thrones books, and look, I liked the TV series. Was it the best thing ever? In my opinion, no. I am one of the few people who thought that the finale to the show was good. It wasn't the best. It wasn't the worst. In my opinion, at least, it fit the story. Um, I've never read the books. I'm just not a big novel reader. Got to go to do another cookie booth Okay, enjoy your cookie booth. I don't know if that's code. Have a great day. Get some rest, Phil. Yeah. No heavy machinery or even light machinery for that matter. Okay, I'll try. I got to really clean up downstairs, and I'll get into that with the office at least. Organize part of the organization, but I'll get into that a little bit. Yeah, so I read the books. I'm just not a big reader. I used to read a lot as a kid, and somewhere I think in my 20s I would start to read at night and just boom. I still have yet to watch the OT episode. I mean, look, it's worth it. I think you need a lot of time at this point. Um, it's a story that definitely sags. But look, if you have HBO, you already pay for it. Why not check it out? And if you could afford the time, of course. Sometimes it's a little frustrating, but yeah. Um, House of the Dragon, I watched. I thought it was good, not great. The cast, I think, definitely made up for that show because they kind of took the wonderment out of dragons in it, at least for me. The comic, I don't know, I found it a little obtuse, to be honest with you. I do like the art style. It kind of reminds me a lot of Mark Bagley. I'll show you here. There's a specific example I could find. There isn't, of course. Why would there be? um, yeah, anyway, the artwork is reminiscent, at least in my opinion, of Mark Bagley. The problem I have with it, and maybe it's just because I've watched the show, I'm kind of automatically comparing. It's like, oh, okay, what part of the show did this happen? And to be honest with you, it kind of gives you a rough idea because I feel like this maybe is more from the novels than the show. But yeah, it kind of took me out of it a little bit. I mean, I'm going to read the other ones I have, of course. Maybe I just started off on a bad issue, but I don't know. That was just me. It just kind of felt a little drawn out. Cole, how are you, sir? It was funny. Cole. I was thinking about you this morning. I was coming back from my little Trader Joe's jaunt, and I uh, I had my radio on, which has not happened in a very long time. Usually, I just use Pandora. I used to listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff on the way to work, but I don't commute to work anymore. So I had if you don't know, by the way, the New York, New Jersey radio network, whatever it's called, was at some point the biggest in the market. But in New York, we didn't really have a dedicated rock station. I think the closest was like WDHA, which is out here in Dover. Um, and I don't even know why I was thinking about that, but I was like, Cole has a really nice radio voice. I could see him doing like an AM radio station or something. But AM radio show, just like, oh, here's Cole with you. And next on the countdown, they may not be related. Of course, I screwed it up. They may not be related, but they do be brothers. And here we go. This is what lack of sleep and too much coffee does to my brain, people. It's just mush. Oh, see, Seth, you ruined it for me. I was going to watch it after Brian's 1,000 subscriber video, and you just ruined the ending for me now. Oh, well. I'm still going to watch it. Am I kidding? That show that I'm currently binging is Yellowstone. My wife and I have watched the first 4 seasons in the last 4 weeks. My wife is not into anything remotely Western, so we are probably not going to see that one. Um, a lot of the shows, to be honest with you, we've been watching, um, we tend not to like each other's taste as far as scripted shows go. I've been watching The Last of Us just either late at night when she's in bed or um, early this morning or when I have to do an all-nighter like today. I'm not sorry you lost. Yeah, I've heard some good things about it too. No, it's no problem, Seth. I'm just busting you. Um, but yeah, I mean, I've heard good things about it. Yeah, that's the only thing I can contribute to that part of the conversation. I like Kevin Costner. He's on that, right? Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else that we've been watching. We try to watch some stuff together. And I think the last thing that we watched together, actually, that's scripted, believe it or not, little show on Netflix. You might laugh when you hear this. Emily in Paris. Not bad. The season was a little weak, but what are you going to do? It's kind of like if you watched Entourage back in the day, but not as, I don't know, it doesn't push the envelope that much. But yeah, that was the last series I think that we watched together. We do watch a lot of 90 Day Fiance, though we have not watched the new season. We have watched the spinoffs. I like the spinoffs. And yeah, I'm reminded every time I watch that stuff. There's a comedian by the name of Vic Henley who passed away a couple of years ago. Very funny guy, and he used to refer to the station that's on TLC as the Learning Circus because it is like the freak show acts. That's what they do. They're like, here's some weird people, watch it, and there you go. The wife and I loves the bear. Is that the one with the kid from? Can't think of the show now. That was on Showtime, but he like runs a restaurant. We watched the first episode, and I don't know why we didn't watch the others. But yeah, it's on Hulu, if I'm not mistaken. I like, some of Hulu stuff I like, and some of it I watch half of one episode. I'm like, okay, I'm done with this. Still entertains me. They had to change their name from the Learning Channel to TLC. Yeah, and guess what? Now, because TLC is owned by Discovery, so now they're like, and Discovery has a pretty big stake in Warner Brothers, so they're like the second biggest entertainment entity, probably the biggest on cable now. I don't know. Uh, yeah, but and oh, shit. Sorry, hit the wrong button. Um, I don't know. I know that I was talking about that one show with the little girl. There's a girl who's 24 but looks like she's 9. We talked about that one. That's the weirdest show. But I don't know, Zach. Have you heard this whole um, controversy about their latest show? If you're unfamiliar with this, again, nothing to do with comics. My brain's mush today. Um, it's called MILF Manor. So I think everybody knows what MILF means here. If you don't, Google is your friend. Don't do it from a work computer. That's all I'll say. Um, so the premise of this show, I guess they have a mansion. We haven't watched it. The commercials made my contacts feel dirty. I'm not going to lie to you. Um, so you have these women, I guess, that are over 40 who happen to be mothers, and they're told that they're going to be on a dating show. Um, they may have. They may have. Um, and in the meantime, there's a group of young guys in their 20s that turned around and they said, "Oh, you're going to be on a dating show." Little do they know that they're on the same dating show. However, what they failed to mention until the most recent previews is that um, some of those 20-year-olds, their mothers are the ones in that as well. And yeah, so there's a little bit of, hey, you went out on a date with my son last night. How did it go? From what I could gather, and I don't know. I think they may have found that line to cross there. The image of googling MILF would be quite interesting. Very family friendly. Yeah, yeah. Just if you have young kids, I guess turn that safe search on. Oof. Okay, we're halfway in. I have to say, I'm very tired. Why don't you guys tell me a little bit about what you've read this week? Because I am interested in reading some new things digitally. I do have Marvel Unlimited. I am planning on subscribing to the DC app. Um, or if my wife can hear me, it would be a really nice Valentine's present. the DC Infinite one, you know, the top tier where you get some stuff and they come out like a month later digitally. I'm trying to drop a hint. She's sleeping anyway, so there you go. But by the way, um, Detective was dope. You know what? I am telling you something too. Hey, it's not about romance, it's about saving cash in the long run with that one. Detective, here's the thing too. Something I've realized um, in my big kind of organization thing. I have characters who I'll read so much of and I'll say, you know what? I can stop here and be done with. I hit that wall with Batman about a year ago. I didn't realize how many issues of Detective Comics I had. Um, Batman alone so far, including like the spin-offs, I think I'm at 4 long boxes. Or I need to be 4 long boxes. Don't quote me on that one. X-Men, again, not including Wolverine, for example. So far I'm at 5 long boxes. So yeah, I'm going to have some trimming to do once this project is all done with, which I think I talked about a little bit last week, but I'm going to mention again. If you guys are looking to complete any series, especially from the 90s, just let me know because I had initially put aside a bunch of duplicates. And look, I'll be honest with you, these things are not mint. Some of these are banged up to hell. These have been read and loved, so they're not pristine. But if you're just looking to fill in a couple holes, I'll let you take that as you were. You know, whether you're watching MILF Manor or not. If you're looking to fill in a couple issues, why don't we say that? Let me know because if I have it, I will give it to you. You'll be doing me a favor. I was like, look, I'll put these away. I'll put these aside for some giveaways. And what I thought was going to be a pile like this that would maybe fit into a short box can easily fit into another long box. So just to give you an idea. Um, Isolation 2. I enjoyed Isolation 2. Did you put your pre-order in for Isolation 3 yet? I don't even really buy new stuff nowadays. I'm thinking that the way I'm personally going to go, um, I'm going to be trimming my list down significantly. I think the only Marvel books I'll be getting um, are going to be whenever Uncanny launches again. Will be that maybe because this might be an excellent. Whenever Krakoa drops off, might be an excellent dropping off point for me. To be honest with you, I'm kind of sorting that out still. And Wolverine, um, maybe She-Hulk too because I really like She-Hulk series. And then that'll leave me with really just image books because they don't have their own service, and I don't like the idea of Amazon's digital service. That's a whole other topic, of course. As long as there's no Tinder sauce, yeah, you should be okay with that one. Well, why don't we say this? If there is, it's not from me. Let's see. I doubt these people can even spell Damascus, let alone make a proper pattern. Okay. You had to say that, of course, Kyle. Mr. Comics by the Bay, how are you, sir? Hey, Matt. Hey, Sinbad. Sinbad, hey. I said hey, never mind. Yeah, and you know what? I don't know if that's a growth thing, just personally with me, or just a natural kind of progression because I've heard from more and more people that they're like, yeah, I don't buy the big two and floppies anymore. I just buy independents. And that I feel like I'm kind of headed down that path, but I don't know for sure. Yeah, and you know what it is too? I think it's that um I mean for me I could tell you some of the books I've gotten into over the past few years have been through tie-ins. Now, um I've made it a point to stay away from some of the bigger non X-Men. I'll give myself that caveat. Um tie-ins lately. I skipped King in Black, and to be honest with you, I read it digitally after the fact, and I don't know. I know that there's some Spider-Man fans in here. Brian, I'm looking at you. I can't. I don't. I can't wrap my head around why everybody thought Null was such a great character. I don't know. To me personally, I felt like it's like, oh, this is Onslaught 2.0, where it sounds like a good concept and just doesn't, the execution, in my opinion at least, isn't there. Collecting only back issues from the big two, by an occasional indie. Yeah. Don't know how many titles I have on my pull. Way more than 19. Yeah, and look, I'll be honest with you. I've cut down tremendously. There was a time, and again, admittedly, it's a long time ago at this point. I was getting every single DC title. This was around the time of the New 52. I think I have like the first 5 issues of every single relaunch title. At least the ones that made it to 5 issues, which, to be fair, I think the only one that didn't make it 5 issues was Hawk and Dove, but, you know, enough said, I guess. And every single Avengers, because at the point, that was also the point where they're like, oh, well, here's Avengers and New Avengers and Secret Avengers and Mighty New Avengers and Uncanny Avengers and your mom's Avengers. I don't know. Gil San TSC. Let's make it happen. Go for it. I'll sign your petition. You start passing that around, we'll do it. Okay. Somebody's honking. Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with some of the more bigger titles. Has anybody else like been really into a character and just said, okay, I gotta drop off this now? Okay, when I started back 10 months ago, I had 50 titles. Now 19. I have plenty of giveaway books done. I'd pull Your Mom's Adventures. Hey, if you want, she's single. I can make it happen. And I've been telling her she should move to Florida anyway. Just my sister moved down there, and yeah, I mean, my my mom will be like, like a 30-year-old down there. I don't know. I respectfully disagree. Yep, that's what she said. See, we got one in there. Yeah, no, I can understand. I think a lot of people, when I think a lot of people were turned off by the newer Cohen Age X-Men when it was launched, um, just because you did really, they did really rely on interconnectivity. Why don't we say that? I could tell you that after Hickman, they kind of moved away from that. But I feel like little by little, they're thinning out their titles, at least in the X universe. And I'm just checking my time. I don't want to run into Brian's too much here. New Saturday show, the Mill Steel Funds. Hey, make it happen. um, yeah, I mean, I could tell you other characters. Like I said, Batman, I'm kind of done with on that. Spider-Man, um, that being mean, just made it super confusing for no reason. Yeah, and I could see that, but I could tell you that there are some titles in there that are gems. I highly recommend, and I've said this before, you guys are probably going to roll your eyes. Vita Ayala's run, which was the majority of the run on New Mutants. I thought that was tremendous, done tremendously well. And of all the writers who've used those, I don't know what you call it, like the little kind of journal entries or those title pages or whatnot in those X-Men books, she's done it in a way that really supported the books and really powerful stuff. It made me liking C-level characters like Warpath, for example. Let me tell you something. Warpath has always just been there for me as a character. She made him interesting. Tie the scripts woven in between. When they're done well, they're done well. I'll say that. Right now, I think the best of the X titles is not the main X-Men book. I think really uh, Wolverine and X-Force. I think Ben Percy's doing a great job on making Beast more of a villain. And again, I'm a little far behind, so that may have changed, but I've enjoyed that tremendously. X-Men Red and Immortal X-Men, I've liked a lot as well. Um, yeah, I'll say Teeny Howard stuff, not so much. Drops that quick. I have not read Cy Spurrier's stuff. Just I kind of find him hit or miss. And Legion of X for me, what I did read was a miss. But look, I do think they are kind of headed towards the end of Krakoan, so the end of the Krakoan age. So we'll see what happens. What about Zilfs? What about them? I've enjoyed the spin-off X-Men versus the regular run. Yeah, I've been liking Exterminators. I didn't read the last issue yet, or at least I don't think I did. Um, and I'll say that the writer on that one, Lee Williams, uh, I thought her X Factor run was good. I think the problem with it, it felt like it was a little short, like it needed one more issue. But I liked the premise. In this whole age of resurrection, they basically, before you had to be resurrected, you needed proof that somebody actually died. And they were, kind of supposed to be that proof, but it took it in a different direction. I think the art really kind of hampered that title as well. Yeah, X-Men Red, to be honest with you, to bring it back to what we were kind of saying earlier, is kind of like I describe it to people as X-Men Red and Immortal X-Men are working together, at least in my view, and it's kind of like X-Men's Game of Thrones, at least in my opinion. I haven't even started it yet, but I'm interested in seeing where it goes. Okay, not going to highlight that other comment with the Necro. Yeah. Hey, I'm not judging. What are some indie titles that you guys have enjoyed over the past couple of years? Because I've been kind of revisiting those lately. Um, I've been big on Monstrous. I think that's finally kind of winding down. Same with Undiscovered Country. Um, what else? Even some of the ones that aren't necessarily around anymore. There was a book, I highly recommend this, especially if you like horror books. Yeah, you're talking, this is a Scott Snyder story from um, before his Batman run called Severed. If you get a chance to pick that up, definitely do it. The ending is a little off, at least in my opinion, but it's a good read. I want him back as a villain. Evil, I would argue that he's always been he's still very much a villain. Um, I'd say if you haven't checked him out on not Marauders, excuse me, Hellions. Hellions was one of the stronger X books that's just not around anymore. Yeah, he is in my mind still very much a villain. Marauders was great. The second volume, not so much. And I read the first couple issues and haven't revisited that. Yeah, I pretty much did. He needs to get back to his old vibes. I think he's kind of there. I don't know. All I'm saying is maybe he's not a villain per se, but he's definitely not a hero. I am happy to see that Apocalypse is returning to the X-Men books. I felt like uh, he wasn't really used effectively in Excalibur. Ten of Swords, I thought was definitely his time to shine. I think it was one of the stronger Apocalypse stories I've read in years. Uh, yeah, but you know what? It's kind of like I think he might actually have it already. I don't know about an anti-hero, to be honest with you. I don't know if I agree with you on that one. Yeah. Yeah. Um, it's kind of funny too. I was thinking that there are some X-related characters that are kind of missing from Krakoa. Villain-wise, especially, I think they've kind of used it as a way to avoid some of the goofier characters. Like, I'll say this: I've never been a fan of Sauron. Um, I hope they never consider using him for a film. I can't see them doing it. Just too goofy for me. Need him to get away from the summer shtick 30 years ago. He needs to go get some better DNA. Truth. But you see, I kind of think that that might be an opportunity for something, even in post Krakoan X-Men books, because part of the whole um, resurrection protocols, there's DNA somewhere. I think maybe he's hacked it already, to be honest with you. As X Factor, mutants. Yeah. Trying to think. Still there. Juggernaut's still there. Yeah, I mean, the X-Men, just like every other character, you've got your top tier villains, and then you got some goofy ones. And the X-Men, I feel like there's a bigger kind of fall off. It's like, oh well, here's your Magneto, and then you quickly go down to whatever. Need to read Sinsville. I will. Just haven't been to the LCS yet. Trust me, when I start reading the X-Men books again, you'll know. And yeah. Yeah, no, I have that was in the further adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, it's kind of funny. Um, Going through YouTube, I found some random video about somebody explaining. I didn't know that the animated series went into that a little bit. And yeah, especially for a Saturday morning cartoon, that was dark. Yeah, Apocalypse is great, but I feel like they haven't really used him effectively in a long time. I do think Ten of Swords was a shining moment for him, uh, at least in recent history. Yeah, I liked that story too. Adam Polina artwork. X Men was amazing. Yeah. You know what though too? Even though I have to say this, um, going back, I'll say this before I forget this. One title I think would have been perfect for Krakoa, but you could really do at any point in the X Men series. One of the things that kind of drives me crazy about Apocalypse, somewhere along the line, they decided, hey, you know what? It'd be a great story if we just made everybody a Horseman of Apocalypse. Think of how many X Men, former, excuse me, how many current X Men are former Horsemen. You have Angel, Archangel, which is perfect. That's great. Good. You had the one. You should have left it there. Wolverine was Death. Gambit was Death. Chamber, I think, was Death. Um, who else? I don't know if there was anybody. Banshee, wasn't Banshee one of the Horsemen at one point, or was he just like an undead character? I forgot. Point is I think that they're at the point they could put their own team of Horsemen together as an X Men book, like X Horsemen. I don't know. Who hasn't been a Horseman? Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, Apocalypse is one of those characters I think they can't quite figure out what to do with. And that seems to be the issue in general. Like I think the same with Fantastic Four, for example. Um, I ended Slots. I was reading Slots Run because I really liked Dan Slott. I wound up getting off of it early just because I was like, you're not going anywhere with it. I don't know. Again, my opinion. Oh, I have plenty of ideas. I don't know if they're all great, but we'll see. I apologize. I'm clearly running out of steam too, but we're almost there. I'm going to end in about 5 minutes just so everybody has a chance to get a beverage and get relaxed. And I'm starving. I got breakfast to share with my wife, and she's still sleeping. So it's probably nice and cold now, which again is probably pretty much everybody. Yeah, you know what? In retrospect, I should have done something really cool for this show today because we're doing the switch up, the very special time. I should have done like a parody of Brian's intro, or you could have thrown in. See, I could have done that. I could have thrown in the video of Chad dancing that I did in the VR from a couple weeks ago. Chad dancing to Brian's intro, but oh well, maybe for next time. I want to see a comic where Thanos versus Apocalypse. I don't know. I don't know that it would make sense. Could work. I don't know. There's still like a good number of X-Men characters, all the villains versus each other. I mean, one of the very first um, crossovers I read when I started getting into comics way back in the day, you kind of had a little bit of that. That was the Extinction Agenda. If you're not familiar, um, it appeared that Cable attempted to assassinate Charles Xavier and fled, and it was actually his evil twin, which I think everybody knows now is Strife. And it turned into a manhunt. At certain points in time, you had X Factor and the X-Men versus X-Force because X-Force was standing by him. And Sinister was involved. I forgot why. Um, and I think he had a pretty big battle, if I'm not mistaken, or he attempted to do something with Apocalypse because Apocalypse was involved as well. I forgot exactly how they went into it, but I remember that they all had these little trading cards that were in some sort of prose. It was supposed to be like Strife talking, and he did not like Sinister or Apocalypse very much at all. I was trying to think if there are any other villain versus books I could think of. I think that's it, really, to be honest with you. Here's the problem with that conversation, though. Jean Grey doesn't have any children. If you think about it, because Cable is Goblin Queen's son. I think that, yeah, I mean, I guess you could say she's his adopted mother, but I don't know if that counts. You know, we need a ruling from TLC on that one. Dear TLC, does this count? Send. Oh, I'm so tired. I'm air keyboarding. That's right. Yeah, go for it. Make it happen. Okay. Well, we are at almost 53 minutes in. I started saying this before, but I'm going to just say it again. You will have 7-minute stories, the live show back hopefully soon. Again, I've been rearranging the office, and that's kind of the space that I do all that in. A couple people have expressed interest in being on it. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. And if you do want to be interviewed or highlighted, let's say, on 7-minute stories, let me know. Drop me a DM on Instagram, and we'll work that out. Kyle Phil had you on that one. Yeah. Is air keyboarding similar to playing the guitar? Maybe. Maybe. Just maybe. uh, all right. Well, I am going to say good day to everybody now. Yeah, I've definitely hit that wall, but I hope everybody joins me in watching Breakfast with Brian in his 1,000 subscriber show in just a few minutes. Until then, everybody, peace, love, and comics. Take care.